My name's Emily Carter, and I grew up in a small town just outside Columbus, Ohio. We didn't have much actually. We barely had enough. My dad, Mark, drove an old yellow cab that rattled like a tin can every time he hit a bump. My mom, Sarah, worked double shifts at a grocery store called Henderson's Market. Money was always tight. Sometimes, dinner was just mac and cheese or a box of instant noodles. But weirdly, we were happy. We laughed over burnt pancakes on Sunday mornings and played board games by candlelight when the power got cut off. I remember one night when Dad came home after a 12-hour shift. He was exhausted, but he still brought home a dollar store cake because it was my brother Jake's birthday. He smiled, wiped the sweat off his forehead, and said, "We may not be rich, but we've got heart, kiddo." And he was right. Back then, I believed love could fix anything. Still, the grown-ups worried. Every month, bills piled up on the kitchen counter like a tower waiting to collapse. I heard my parents whisper at night about rent, car repairs, and how they might not make it through winter. But Dad always had this weird kind of faith. He used to buy lottery tickets from the gas station on his way home. He'd wave them in the air and say, "One day, our luck's gonna turn around. Just you wait." Mom would roll her eyes and mumble, "Dreams don't pay bills, Mark." I'd giggle, not realizing how serious those words were. At school, I didn't fit in with the rich kids. They wore AirPods and designer sneakers. I wore thrift store jeans and shoes with taped soles. But I told myself it didn't matter. I had a family that loved me. If only I knew then how fragile that love could be, how one lucky ticket would change everything. Because the truth is, the moment my dad actually did win the lottery, our lives stopped being simple and started falling apart. It was a gray Saturday morning in late February when everything started. Dad was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping his coffee from the chipped Ohio State mug he'd had for years. The radio was playing old country music, and Mom was folding laundry. I was scrolling through my phone, half asleep, when I heard him mutter, "No way. No freaking way." At first, I thought he was joking. But when I looked up, his hands were shaking, and his face had gone pale. He was staring at the small piece of paper in his hands, a lottery ticket. "Emily," he said in a whisper. "Read these numbers. Just read them." I did. They matched. Every single one. Mom froze, her mouth open. "You're kidding." Dad suddenly stood up, knocking over his chair, and shouted, "We won, Sarah. We actually won. $10 million. The next few minutes were chaos. Mom started crying, Jake was jumping up and down, and I was just standing there, stunned. $10 million. The number didn't even feel real. We spent the rest of the day screaming, laughing, and dreaming. Dad said he'd quit his job immediately. Mom wanted a new house, a new car, a new everything. I remember Dad hugging me so tight I could barely breathe. "We did it, he whispered. "No more worrying. No more nights wondering how to pay the bills." That night, we went to Applebee's, the fanciest place we could think of. We ordered steak and dessert for once, and Dad kept saying over and over again, "This is just the beginning." But I remember noticing something strange. When the waitress congratulated us, Dad had already told everyone he looked different. His smile wasn't the same. There was something greedy, almost hungry, in his eyes. Later that night, while everyone else was asleep, I walked past the kitchen. Dad was sitting alone, staring at the ticket again, whispering to himself, "Everything's gonna change now." I didn't realize then he wasn't just talking about money. He was talking about us. The first few weeks after Dad won felt like a dream. We moved out of our tiny apartment in Columbus and into a huge house in the suburbs, 5 bedrooms, a pool, even a movie room. It didn't feel real. Mom kept walking around saying things like, Can you believe this, Emily? We actually made it. Dad quit driving his cab the very next day. He started wearing button-up shirts and gold watches. He'd never cared about stuff like that before, but now, he said, when you've got money, you gotta look like it. We bought a shiny black Cadillac Escalade, and suddenly, people who used to ignore us were calling, texting, pretending they'd always cared. Mom got her hair done at fancy salons and started hanging out with the neighborhood wives. They drank wine at noon and talked about vacations in Florida. For a while, it was kind of amazing. We'd never eaten out so much, never had so many new clothes. Jake got a gaming PC, and I got a new iPhone and designer sneakers. When I transferred to Brookview High, a private school nearby, I thought life would finally be easy. I imagined walking through the halls confident, maybe even popular. I was wrong. From the first day, the other kids could tell I didn't belong. They whispered lotto trash when I passed by. One girl, Chloe, laughed at my accent and said, "Money can't buy class, sweetheart." I pretended not to care, but it hurt. Deep down, I missed our old apartment, the one that smelled like pancakes and laundry soap. At home, things weren't much better. Dad started coming home late, saying he was handling business. Mom accused him of showing off too much. They argued more and more, their voices echoing through our perfect new house. One night, I walked past their bedroom and heard Mom shout, "We used to be happy, Mark. Remember that?" Dad didn't answer. I went back to my room, sat on my expensive bed, and stared at the chandelier above me. It sparkled beautifully, but somehow, it made the room feel cold. At first, the fights were small about money. Mostly, Mom wanted to save, Dad wanted to invest. He started hanging out with people I'd never seen before. Guys with flashy suits, expensive watches, and fake smiles. He called them business partners, but I could tell they weren't the type who actually worked for anything. Every night, he'd come home later and smell like whiskey and cigar smoke. When Mom asked questions, he'd snap, "I'm doing this for us, Sarah. You think that cab job was gonna buy this life?" Mom stopped arguing after a while. She'd just pour herself another glass of wine and stare out the window. I used to love family dinners. But now, the dining room felt like a stage. Fake smiles, forced laughter, and silence so heavy it hurt. Jake would eat quickly and run back to his room to play games, drowning out the yelling that always came after. One day, Dad asked me to come with him to a meeting. We drove downtown. And he introduced me to his new friend, Tony Russo, a slick man with diamond rings and a grin that never reached his eyes. "Your dad's got big plans," Tony said, clapping him on the back. "You'll see, kiddo. This is how rich people stay rich." Something about the way he said it gave me chills. Within weeks, Dad invested hundreds of thousands into Tony's business opportunity. Mom was furious when she found out. "You don't even know what that man does, Mark," she yelled. "You're just jealous I'm finally doing something real," he shot back. That night, she threw her wedding ring at him. It hit the wall and bounced onto the marble floor. The sound still rings in my ears. The next morning, she was gone for hours. When she came back, her hair was different, her nails done. She said she'd been at a spa. But I could see it in her eyes, she was done fighting. I sat alone in my giant room that night, scrolling through old photos on my phone, pictures from our tiny apartment. Our cheap birthday cakes, Dad smiling without all that gold on his wrist. Back then, we were broke. But we were still us. By the time I turned 17, our house didn't feel like home anymore. Dad spent more nights at Tony Russo's office than with us. He called it making our money grow, but I knew better. There were whispers, late-night phone calls, and secret meetings. Sometimes, I'd peek out the window and see him talking to strangers in dark suits outside the house. Mom had stopped caring about appearances. The shopping sprees, the wine nights, even her fancy friends, they no longer made her happy. She wandered the house like a ghost, muttering about how the money had changed everything. Jake had started sneaking out, too. At first, it was small things, missing curfew, skipping school. But soon I found him in my room one night, with a pocket full of cash and a bag of stolen snacks from the grocery store. "Jake, where did you get that?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Relax, Emily," he said, shrugging. "Everyone's got money now. Why does it matter?" It mattered because it wasn't ours. It was Dad's recklessness, Mom's denial, the world's attention on us just because of a stupid ticket. Then came the night that changed everything. Dad came home after midnight, drunk, red-faced, muttering about a deal gone wrong. He slammed his fist on the kitchen counter. "They took it all, every last cent." Mom screamed, hitting him back. I stood frozen, heart pounding, as glass shattered across the marble floor. I realized, in that moment, that the people who had smiled at us, envied us, and pretended to care, didn't exist anymore. The only family left was us, and even that was breaking. The next morning, I found the bills hundreds of thousands in debt from Dad's failed investments and Tonia's scams. He tried to explain it as if it were nothing. Mom cried in the guest room. Jake refused to leave his bed. And me. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the empty walls that had once held our laughter. My fingers traced the scratches on the wooden floor marks from when Jake and I had raced across this very room, as kids. We were rich yesterday. Today, we were broken. That's when I realized something I should have known all along. Money could give you everything. And take everything away. Dad's accident happened on a Thursday. I remember it like it was yesterday. He had been drinking again, mumbling about the money he'd lost, about Tony Russo, about how everything had slipped through his fingers. Mom had begged him not to drive, but he laughed, said he could handle it, that he was fine. I watched him leave that morning. Leaning on the rusty old car he insisted on keeping as a backup. I waved, pretending I wasn't terrified. By noon, the phone rang. It was a police officer from Columbus Metro. His voice was calm, but I could hear the undercurrent of bad news. "Is this Emily Carter? I'm calling about your father, Mark Carter. There's been an accident." Everything after that happened in slow motion. Mom screamed, dropping the phone. Jake ran out of the room, screaming too. I felt like the ground had disappeared beneath my feet. They said Dad had lost control on a slick road near High Street, spun into a tree. He didn't make it. I remember staring at the ceiling that night, trying to convince myself it wasn't real. I wanted to hear him tell one of his silly jokes, tell Mom she was too dramatic, or even ask me to do the dishes. But the house was silent. Mom curled up on the sofa, crying so hard she couldn't even speak. Jake refused to leave his room, hiding under the blankets as if the world had ended. I wandered into Dad's study, still smelling faintly of whiskey and cigar smoke. On his desk was the lottery ticket, the one that had started all of this. I picked it up, feeling the weight of everything it represented. Joy, hope, destruction. For a long time, I couldn't stop thinking about his last words at home. Everything's gonna change now. He was right, but not in the way he imagined. By the end of that week, the house felt like a tomb. The money was gone. Our friends were gone. Even some relatives avoided us, scared of being tied to a scandal, a broken family, or worse, someone they could blame. For the first time, I understood the truth. Wealth could make people dream big, but it could also destroy the ones they loved most. And now, I had to pick up the pieces, not just for me, but for Mom and Jake, before we disappeared completely. After Dad's death, our lives became a blur of bills, paperwork, and people we didn't know knocking on our door. Creditors, lawyers, even Tony Russo's name came up more than I wanted. He had vanished, leaving Dad's investments in ruin. Mom barely left her room. She stopped cooking, stopped cleaning. Sometimes, I'd find her sitting in the dark, staring at the walls as if the house itself had swallowed her. Jake shut himself away, playing video games for hours, ignoring the world, ignoring me. I became the one holding everything together. I got a part-time job at Subway, flipping sandwiches after school. I learned how to manage what little money we had left, paying bills in secret while trying not to cry. I remember one evening walking past Dad's old study. The walls were lined with empty shelves now, and the expensive desk felt like a coffin. On it, I found a notebook hidden under a drawer. Inside, Dad had written, "I just want my family to be happy. One ticket, one chance. Maybe this will fix everything." I slammed it shut. Fix everything. All he did was break us. School was harder than ever. Kids who used to call me lottery girl or rich brat now whispered about poor Emily Carter, whose dad lost it all. I felt invisible and humiliated, like our whole story had become public property. Even Mom asked me one day, softly, "Emily, do you hate your dad?" I froze. Did I hate him? Part of me wanted to scream, wanted to say yes. But the other part remembered his laughter, his warm hugs, the small sacrifices he made before the money. I didn't answer. The world moved on, but our family didn't. We were stuck in a limbo of grief, debt, and regret. Every sound of a car engine on the street made my heart race. Every notification on my phone felt like another person reminding us of what we'd lost. That's when I realized the truth. Life doesn't stop for tragedy, and it certainly doesn't pause for lottery winners. We had everything once, and then nothing. And now, we had to rebuild not just our lives, but who we were. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the empty house around me, and whispered, "We can't go back. All we can do is move forward." By the time I was 18, I had become the adult in our family. Mom's depression had worsened, and Jake barely spoke to anyone outside his games. I worked 2 jobs, flipping burgers at McDonald's after school and delivering packages for a local courier on weekends, just to keep the lights on and food on the table. I remember one night, walking home from my shift in the rain. My hoodie was soaked, my backpack weighed down with unpaid bills and letters from collection agencies. I passed the old lottery kiosk near High Street, and my stomach sank. That's where Dad had bought the ticket, where our dream had started and ended. I didn't think about the money anymore. I thought about responsibility, survival, and keeping my little family from completely falling apart. I had to learn to be strong, even when every part of me wanted to cry. School was a challenge too. I had returned to finish my senior year, but everything felt harder. I couldn't afford new textbooks or nice clothes. I often ate lunch alone, and sometimes I cried in the bathroom after class. But each time, I reminded myself, Dad made mistakes. Mom was broken. Jake needed me. One afternoon, while walking home, I stopped at a park bench and looked at the children playing. They were laughing, carefree. I remembered us, before the money, before the fights, before everything fell apart. That memory hit me harder than any unpaid bill or angry creditor ever could. I realized something that day. Strength isn't about money, or luck, or even surviving tragedy. It's about showing up when no one else can, carrying the weight of everyone else's mistakes, and choosing to keep moving forward. Mom started helping a little, taking short walks with me to the grocery store. Jake occasionally smiled when I shared a story from work. It wasn't perfect, and it never would be, but it was ours. We were still here. That night, I wrote in my journal, the only place I could speak freely. We lost everything because of money. But maybe, just maybe, we can find something stronger in what we still have: each other. I went to bed exhausted, but somehow lighter. For the first time since Dad's accident, I felt like I was doing more than surviving. I was learning to live again. It had been 3 years since Dad's accident, and by now, Mom and Jake were slowly finding pieces of themselves again. Mom started working part-time at a local bakery, and Jake had returned to school full-time, though he still kept to himself most days. I was balancing college classes at Ohio State with my part-time jobs. Life was hard, but it was honest. I still thought about Dad, about the lottery, about how one small piece of paper could change everything. One day, on a whim, I bought a lottery ticket at the corner store near campus. It was almost a joke, a flashback to Dad's old obsession. I didn't tell anyone. I scratched it in my tiny apartment kitchen, thinking it would just be another worthless slip of paper. But when I read the numbers, my stomach dropped. I had won a second-tier prize enough to cover my tuition for a semester, pay off a few bills, but not enough to live in luxury. I held the ticket in my hands for what felt like hours. I could feel Dad's presence in the room, whispering, "Everything's gonna change now." But this time, I didn't panic. This time, I didn't let greed take hold. I thought about Mom and Jake, about the life we had rebuilt with sweat and tears. I thought about how the lottery had destroyed Dad, fractured our family, and nearly ruined us. So I did something Dad never did. I smiled, crumpled the ticket, and tossed it in the trash. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about choice. About learning that some lessons are more valuable than wealth. That's surviving tragedy and building something real with your own hands. That is the true prize. Later that evening, I walked home and found Mom in the kitchen, making dinner for the first time in weeks. Jake was at the table, laughing at a joke I told. I realized then that our family, scarred and broken as we were, had survived. We didn't need the lottery. We needed each other. I kept thinking about Dad, about his good intentions, his mistakes, his dreams, and I forgave him. Not for what he did, but for teaching me, in the hardest way possible, what really matters. Somewhere deep down, I understood. The lottery had given and taken everything. But we, our family, were still here. And this time, we were stronger. It's been 5 years since that day, the day my dad won the lottery, and the day our lives began to unravel. I still live in Columbus, but not in the big house, not in luxury. We moved into a modest apartment, just the 3 of us, and for the first time in a long time, it feels like home. Mom bakes bread almost every morning now. Her smile is slower, quieter than it used to be, but it's real. Jake is finishing high school, finally talking about his plans for college. And me, I'm learning that life isn't about winning, or losing, or holding on to a slip of paper with numbers printed on it. Life is about the small, fragile moments we fight to protect the ones money can never buy. Sometimes, I think about Dad. I remember his laughter, his jokes, the warmth in his eyes before greed and obsession took hold. I remembered the lottery ticket, how it promised a miracle and delivered a tragedy. And I realize now that Dad's mistakes, painful as they were, taught me something crucial. Hope is dangerous if it's placed in the wrong things. True hope comes from perseverance, love, and the bonds you refuse to break, no matter how messy life gets. I walk past the old lottery kiosk near High Street sometimes. People still gather there, dreaming, scratching tickets, imagining the life they could have. I smile at them quietly, knowing the truth. A ticket may change your bank account, but it can't change who you are. It can't teach you resilience, forgiveness, or the value of family. Those lessons are earned, one hard day at a time. Last night, I sat at the kitchen table with Mom and Jake. We shared cheap pizza, laughed at a stupid joke Jake made, and for a moment, I felt whole. No gold watches, no mansions, no illusions of instant wealth, just us. Just love, just life. I thought about the past, about Dad, about how one small slip of paper had nearly destroyed us. But I didn't feel anger anymore. I felt clarity. I felt strength. I whispered to myself, almost like a promise, we may have lost everything once, but now, we have the only thing that really matters. And as I looked at Mom's tired, smiling face and Jake's messy hair, I knew it was true. We survived. We were broken, yes, but stronger than ever. And this time, nothing could take that away.